Hey there, Joe. It's Joe,
Derek,
right?
what's going on?
Not much, man. Just get you up here.
There we go.
Awesome.
How's life?
Good to see you. Really good. Really good.
Good. Where are you located?
We live in central Mexico.
Oh, cool, man.
Yeah, that's where we base out of. Got to fly anyway, so might as well pick somewhere you're happy.
Yeah. Are you kidding? Yeah, I'm in the middle of America. I'm in Kansas City, Missouri.
Oh, there you go. I've been there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's a surprising town. I think sometimes we get pigeonholed for being in the Midwest, but it's got surprises.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. I'm a longtime Broncos fan, so uh,
okay, I gotcha. I gotcha. I don't know what's going to happen with those guys, but
totally. Oh, it's I pay less attention now than I used to. When I was younger, I was like all over the NFL. Now I'm too busy doing other stuff,
that's
which is
good.
good.
That is a good
Yeah.
thing. Well, it's great to meet you. I love your background and magic and
Thank you.
everything that you do. And I want to begin our conversation with 4 years ago, we were trying to figure out when this pandemic was going to end, all the ramifications. How did you get through that time period and how did it change the way that you do things now?
Yeah, it's that may take our whole time. um, it was, catastrophic for my business. We had been working so hard to get to a particular point, and it was finally all happening. I was just on Penn and Teller's Fool Us, so I was getting television exposure. I was invited on another famous television show. I had some people in Vegas interested in me. It's all happening. Like it's all finally happening. And we also launched a tour. It was I was doing large, medium-sized theaters. Medium to me is like 500 to 1,000 people, and we had figured out a way to kind of cut down the numbers and do more of the production in house and really keep it super tight so we'd make more profit, take less risk. It was like a really beautiful thing, very intimate show. So we put all of this marketing out in the field and we were about to go on tour. A week before the tour happened, the pandemic hit in force. And I remember the day the NBA canceled their season because that's when everything canceled for me. That's when the other TV show in the US pulled back their offer. That's when I started to cancel my shows, all my tours, and lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? Because you're losing marketing, you're losing deposits, even something as simple as I was using a ticketing company to distribute the tickets, and I refunded everybody their ticket, full ticket fee, because I felt that was the right thing to do. The ticketing company wouldn't refund my fee, the service fee. Yeah, it was terrible. So so it was like a financial catastrophe, no fault of my own. Like I had been
Yeah.
walking so carefully with risk, just managing things, building up, doing all the things you're supposed to do, right? Build slow, build your audience, do all this stuff, and we're ready to finally break out, make bank, let's go. And the bottom fell out. Um, and of course, the first thing is shock, like you're trying to catch your breath.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, we'll get back on the horse in 6 months. We'll get in a year. You know what I mean? And it just kept getting pushed and pushed, pushed. So at first, we tried to tread water doing like virtual stuff like everybody, and it worked kind of, but it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not the same. I started to work on doing media, social media more. I built up some followings and social media accounts, and that's good. I'm glad I did that as well. But um, what started to happen as I was processing the pain of it is, do I even want to do that anymore? In the sense of be a big, like, I think every entertainer, every artist wants to be a big deal. Like it's written in us. And it's not even just because we want recognition for our own egos. Well, I'm sure that's part of it. It's because we want to do our work.
Yeah.
We want to perform. Um, and I started going, well, do I even want to go the Vegas route? Do I even want to be playing large venue? Like, is that Is that what I want to focus on? Do I have impact there? And what I began to do is create differently. We actually relocated to central Mexico. That change of scenery helped me a lot
Yeah.
because staying sequestered in a small apartment in the middle of the cold in winter just does something to your brain, right? So we came down here and I started to get creative. I wrote a TED talk, which I delivered. I wrote a book, and I wrote 2 new shows. And one of those shows is the best thing I have ever created in my life. It's my masterwork. It's my virtuoso performance in Carnegie Hall. It's something only I can do in the entire world, and that's what we're focused on. And it's built for an intimate audience of only 12 people around a table. Um, and we're taking that all over the place, and it's crushing. And I love it so much. And I'm so glad to be in this position now.
Wow. That's the thing I think that's starting to become hopeful about that time we went through is that people found a level of gumption. They found their truth because you
Mm.
may not have been able to create this masterwork of yours if you didn't feel the pain and go through what you went through.
I think that's a very astute observation. You know, I try not. Nobody likes pain, but I try not to shy away from it
Yeah.
because when I look at the most painful moments in my life, creatively and personally, they've also been the moments of greatest growth and rechanneling and redirecting who I am. And that's what happened here in a very profound way. And I really am grateful. I'm
Yeah.
deeply grateful to be where I'm at now.
So let's get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis here
Yeah,
in 2024. Let me put you in front of a bunch of third graders at career day. And one of the
sure.
kids says, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" What's your answer?
Well, probably to third graders, I would say I'm a master magician. In fact, would you like to see a magic trick just before we start? I'm going to show you the simplest, most easy story of magic. It's right here. This is an invisible deck of cards. All you have to do is add water.
Wow. That's amazing.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
My, yeah, no, go ahead.
No, no. And then I would say I use my ability to perform magic to do something really, really important. And that is I help people connect with what it means to remember and what it means to remember together. Because the real magic is being together. The real magic is being in community, working together, laughing together, playing together, living together. That's where the magic happens. So I use my magic to help people connect on a deeper level.
So let's go back to when you were in the third grade. What did you want to be?
Sure.
What was your dream?
Um, that's a great question. I think probably the earliest thing I wanted to be was an astronaut, right?
Yeah,
That was like that. I mean, that sounds like, oh, all kids want to be. No, I took it seriously, man. I wrote to NASA. I got like schematics and specs of the space station sent to me because they would just send this stuff to you if you asked, and pictures, and like I was into it. So that was my first kind of like thing. And then as I got older, uh, I became really interested in sport, became an athlete, and I was really passionate about basketball.
yeah,
And I was a decent basketball player for where I lived, decent. And I had this dream. Maybe I could play like as a professional level. And I took the game really seriously. I worked really hard. And that was my first dream. However, somewhere around 16 years old, 17 maybe, it's right in there, I started to realize I don't have the athletic ability to be a professional basketball player. I dreamt this dream as brightly as I could, and I worked on it as hard as I could in my adolescence, and it ain't gonna happen. Like, and I had to let that dream die.
yeah,
I had to let it die, and letting dreams die is really hard to do.
yeah,
Um, Partly because we're told by everybody who's been successful at something, never give up on your dreams.
yeah,
But then we also remember like American Idol,
yeah,
right? With Simon Sinek yelling at somebody, not Simon Sinek, Simon Cowell
yeah.
yelling at somebody. you're no good at this.
Yeah.
Don't sing anymore. So it's like these two polar opposites, and somewhere in the middle is where we live.
Yeah.
And sometimes dreams die, and that
Yeah.
dream died, but it's okay because I didn't give up on the process of dreaming.
That's it. That's so well said. So talk to me about magic. How did you get the acumen? How did this become a passion? How did you become a master magician and this is your life?
Sure. Um, like most kids of my generation, it started as a passing interest. You see something on TV, it's like, oh, magic. How could I learn that? And I started to just find a few little tricks. In high school, to be honest, it was a way for me to break the ice with girls. I
Yes.
was kind of an awkward social kid, especially at the beginning of high school. And this just kind of like became a thing, one of the things I did that helped break the ice. And I didn't think too much about it all the way through high school. It was just something I was interested in. Then when I got to university, I met another magician who was really good. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I went to him in private. I'm like, Blair, how do you learn this? Like, how do you really learn it? I really want to learn this. And he was very kind, and he lent me a book. And I started to realize that all of this magic is bound in volumes of, lore, uh, and all of the tricks are there to learn. And I started to learn magic tricks, and it became, a bit of a hobby, a bit of a passion. Again, didn't think too much about it. It was just something I did. But I graduated university, started to work for the institution, and a Vegas headliner was performing in a city near me. And I went to the show, and after he had like a teaching session where you spend $100, you go for a masterclass. And I didn't have the money, but I found it. And I went to the teaching session, and I walked in the room, and it was a long boardroom table. And I figured you'd probably want to sit at the head of the table. So I took the most comfortable chair and I put it at the head of the table. Then I sat next to it, and I told everybody that came in, because I was there first, everybody that came in, I said, no, that's where Jeff is going to sit. And Jeff McBride is his name. He's a legend in magic. That's where Jeff is going to sit. That's where Jeff is going to sit. That's where Jeff is going to sit. And sure enough, Jeff came in, and that's where he sat. And he came in just a little bit early. And he turned to me. He's like, what kind of magic do you perform? And I said, oh, just kind of like cards and stuff. He's like, well, show me something. So I did, shaking like a leaf. He gave me a couple pointers and then taught the session. And when he was done, he turned to me and said, Derek, I think you need to come to Las Vegas and study with me.
Wow.
Me? Yeah, I really do. I think you should come. And I left that session, and I told one of my friends, I said, would you believe this? Jeff said this. And they're like, oh my God, like you're going to go, right? I said, well, no, like I'm not good enough yet. Like I got to practice a lot more. I got to spend another year getting ready for this. And my friend said to me, Derek, you're an idiot. You will regret this the rest of your life if you don't go. And so I went to Las Vegas, and I started to study with Jeff. I'd go there once every month or two, and under his and Eugene Berger's tutelage, I won the Canadian National Championships of Magic, and then I went to the World Championships and won the People's Choice Award there, and that got me onto television in Europe, and then that got me and it became this huge snowball thing, and so that's my journey. Yeah.
So what was the first time that you did something in front of a crowd and you saw their responses and it was a level of adrenaline you never felt before?
Oh, that is such a great question. I think even the early exposures of doing a simple trick for family and friends had a bit of a thrill. When you're looking at your older uncle and they're like, you're 12. Like, how can you do? I mean, that gives a kid a sense of power. I think that's why a lot of young boys, particularly, are drawn to magic as an art, because it gives you a bit of social power. And it did that for me at that age. So there's something there, and I already mentioned, girls seem to like it when you did something cool. But it wasn't actually my first stage show was actually when I was first working in that university, they had a career day where they brought in teenagers from all over the place, and they would come and check out the college. And somebody said to me, "Why don't you do a magic show?" Because I was just doing little tricks around the office. They're like, "Why don't you do a magic show?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm like, "Okay, where are we gonna do it? Okay, you're gonna do it in the main auditorium. Great. Okay, how many people? You'll probably get like 50 to 70 kids." I'm like, "Perfect. Let's go." And I created this show out of my mind. And I was out of my mind for doing it looking back, because I've watched the footage, and I attempted things that I had no business attempting at that level of skill. But for some reason I pulled it off, and they didn't boo me. But so I get ready to do this show, and getting ready to go on stage, and I'm backstage, and the person who's going to introduce me comes back and said, "Derek, you got a couple more people than 50." I'm like, "Well, yeah, 70, right?" They're like, "No, 500.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? 500? Dude, I went and performed the show. I've never been more afraid in my life. Like, I'm in my early 20s, and these are teenagers, and teenagers are kind of ruthless, even back in the day.
Yeah.
So I was afraid that they were going to hate me, but I just went for it. And when I look, I still have the footage. When I watch the footage, is it great? No, it's not great. It's not, but it's okay. And
Yeah.
it was good enough for them to like it and applaud. And it was such a rush for me, as you said, that rush of adrenaline of like, I did it, and these people liked it, and they applauded. I want to do this more. Right. And I realized the first thing I needed to do is get over my fear, because I was like, I never want to be this afraid again. And that required practicing more and just exposing myself to audiences more. So I started to perform in restaurants just to get myself used to performing magic for people regularly.
So the thing that's interesting about life is that, there's that whole adage of standing on the shoulders of giants. Did
Yeah.
Jeff make you more comfortable? Was that experience something
Mm.
that made you grow leaps and bounds?
Oh, yeah. I talked to Jeff yesterday. He's still my mentor all these
Wow.
years later.
Yeah.
We talk every month. Um, he is a genius, like a genius in the art. He has more knowledge about magic in his brain than anybody, maybe ever. Like, he's that smart. And he was a huge Vegas performer, and now he's like this. He's like Dumbledore, right? Like, he's like he helps magicians become even better. He consults with Copperfield and Matt Franco and all the big acts, and with Derek Selinger, and he's the best. So when I was early in my career, Jeff McBride and Eugene Berger, who was Jeff's teacher and mentor, uh, they spent a lot of time with me,
Yeah.
understanding not only the techniques. Teaching techniques is actually pretty easy. Understanding my character and who I am, and how I could perform this art in a way that is uniquely me, because they're not about making clones, they're about making artists. And I became an artist under their guidance. And yes, it gave me so much confidence to step into that world with them behind me.
So throughout these years, you obviously have this desire to evolve and to get better, but there's
Mm.
still a level of you that has to continue every day to wake up to do this craft. What has been the most alluring thing about being a master magician and doing this work for all of these years?
Magic has the ability to communicate in a way that no other art can. I think every art has its own uniqueness. Like, I can't create something like a painting and put it on the wall where generation after generation could come and experience long after I'm dead, right? Like, I can't do that. What I make is like the sorcerer in the Sorcerer's Apprentice, making butterflies in the air out of smoke. That's what I do. I make moments of beauty appear, and then they dissolve and disappear, because magic on television, it isn't the same. I mean, it's good, but it isn't great. it just isn't. Magic has to be experienced live. That's where it belongs. Um, and so the most amazing thing about the art for me in how it communicates is it really connects to this sense of what I'm about as a person, which is getting people to imagine possibilities and dream. Because magic's all about the what if, right? Like, what if you could fly? What if you could make things float? What if you could turn lead into gold? What if you could read somebody's mind? Like, what would that look like? You know, and what would the, it's like the superhero concept being lived out in front of you in real life, and you start to imagine and see things differently. And I think that's the chief gift any artist can give any audience of any kind is different perspective. You give a perspective that the audience has not experienced. That happens in music where people are transported. You listen to Don't Stop Believing and it's like, whoa, man, I'm in another place and another time. I remember the first time I heard that song,
Yep.
you start playing Toto's Africa and it's like, what? Like you're there. Or
Yeah.
the kids these days may not be. No, they know Africa. Everybody knows Africa. They made it
Yeah.
into an EDM song. So magic does that in such a profound way that connects people to something really deep within them. And when I see that happen, and that's why doing it for 12 people around a table is so rewarding for me,
Yeah.
is because I watch it happen in their eyes. It's like I found the fountain of youth because I watch people get younger in front of me. They shed years off their face.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I love it so much.
What's the best show you've ever seen? Like, you obviously
Ooh.
do this, but as a spectator, what was the one show that was transformative?
Like magic show, obviously.
Magic, yeah.
That's a great question. There's like, most of the transformative ones, the really transformative ones, happened to me early in my career when I
Yeah.
was first coming into it. Watching Jeff work, he did a mask routine, very, very dramatic, where masks would change and transform and stuff. It was like kabuki theater with magic, and it was this. Watching Jeff work, this was before he was ever my mentor, but watching him work on stage the day before he invited me to go to Las Vegas blew my mind because I'm like, this is very different than what I've seen on TV.
Yeah.
Like on TV, you see Copperfield doing like, the pose,
Yeah.
the suave thing. Where I saw Jeff do theater on stage, I'm like, oh, there's so much range you could do with this. And the magic blew my mind, but more than that, it was the characterization and the drama and the theatrics and all of this feeling, emotion he brought to the art. I'm like, oh, that if I could do that, wow, would that ever be cool? That was probably the most transformative one out of them all. But I'll mention two honorable mentions. One was the first time I saw Lance Burton in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
He had his big show in the Monte Carlo, and it was just so grand and so beautiful, and it was just so good.
Yeah.
It was just so professional and good, and I loved it. And on a smaller level, a guy you can go see right now is a guy named Mac King in Las Vegas. He was at the Flamingo. I think he's still there. Anyway, his show is magic, but hilarious.
Yeah.
Like he is so freaking funny,
Yeah.
and the magic is great. And he's a must watch as well.
What's the best advice you've ever gotten?
Again, in the art of magic.
Probably, yeah. And the Venn diagram can bleed into itself a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Advice. I've got a couple going through my head. I'll share the first one that's kind of crass because it has to do with commerce,
Yeah.
and then I'll go more to heart. But the commerce one was I was performing in a variety show, and an old magician came up to me in the green room, and he starts talking to me. He's like, "How long you been performing for?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just won this such and such award, and we're just starting to get going." And he's like, "What do you charge?" What a strange question.
Yeah.
Like to ask this young, I'm like, and I kind of said a number. He's like, Here's what I'm going to tell you, kid. If you don't charge enough, they won't appreciate you. If you charge enough, they will. If you charge just a little bit too much, they'll hire someone to carry your bags for you. And I remember that just really dawning on me of like valuing my work monetarily as well as emotionally in the world, so that I allowed myself to perform for audiences that really appreciated what I do. It really changed something for me mentally as a young man. The second piece of advice actually came to me from stage. It was more of an experience. I was at a magic convention in Las Vegas. It was sponsored by Siegfried and Roy. I was invited to perform at it. And they had an award ceremony at the end of it, and they were giving away a Lifetime Achievement Award. I don't even remember the gentleman's name that I'm going to tell you about. But he was an illusion builder that worked with like Harry Blackstone and Doug Henning and all these huge names back in the day. And he was an old guy, like he was in his 80s. And he came on stage, and they had a beautiful plaque, and they're going to give him with the Lifetime Achievement Award in magic. It was this huge deal. And they gave him the mic, and he didn't go into thank yous. No. He started telling us stories. He told us a story about this time with Doug Henning and this other time with when he was working with Harry Blackstone Senior, and then Junior came in the room, and he started just telling stories. And after about 15 minutes, they kind of stepped forward like, okay, we gotta stop the stories. Like we got more stuff to do. And they kind of give him his award. And he kind of looked just almost like confused for a second. Then he took the award and he goes, and that's what it's about. So thanks for the bouquet. And he leaves. And it was the flippantness that he treated this award, this honor upon honors, this lifetime achievement award. He was like, it's a nice bouquet.
Yeah.
But that's not the real prize. The real prize were these memories.
Yes.
And these things I just told you. And I remember that really, in fact, my work is directly springing out of that idea today, that I want to help people remember the important things in their life so they could dream good new dreams for the future. That's why I perform this art.
Sure.
And I really took that. Yeah.
That's great, man. What a great story. So what is it of everything that you've done and accomplished and evolved into at this point? What are you the proudest of?
Oh, man. I honestly think it's this current show. Yeah. Because the impact it's having. Like, I'm having people say things to me. I've always, it's nice to get compliments, to have people go, oh my gosh, that was amazing. And well, I ask people at my theater show, what was your favorite part? And, I've cut my wife in half in front of 20,000 people in an arena, and had accolades and people like say, that's great. And that is great. But what's happening with this show is people are saying things to me like, I don't think I could see the world the same way anymore. Like, this changed my life.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that is so deeply profound. And it impacts on me as an artist, because now it's not about, hey, look how good Derek is at what he does, but it's about, look what this magic we've created together. And that's what happens is there's this thing that happens with this show in particular that only happens with this audience in this time in this place. It's their story. It's their beautiful flower. It's going to become smoke and a memory in a minute for no one else to ever experience again. Oh, there's something so beautiful about that.
Yeah. So everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, all of your fans, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? That's funny. I have a joke I often say is like, do you know who I think I am?
Well, it almost sounds like a wise guy thing. Like, who do you think you are?
That's right. That's right. I'm a deeply passionate follower of God who wishes to impart upon human beings the profound significance of their life. Yeah. And I'm in my heart, I'd like to think of myself as a magi of old. Yeah. An old sage in a younger man's body who has seen some things and wants to just tell people how amazing life is and how important they are.
Yeah, I love it. So let's get fantastical here.
Okay.
Time machine pulls up. You can go anywhere in the history of the NBA annals and see one game. Where are you going?
Ooh. Oh, I'm going to I forget the game number, Jordan's fist pump game.
Yeah, the shot. Yeah,
The shot. I'm going to the shot.
that's
How
it.
can I put me courtside, please?
That's
I gotta go
it.
see that shot. Yeah,
That's
that's the
awesome.
one. That's the one.
So let's say you have a dream tonight. You run into the 18-year-old version of you. You could give that young version of you a piece of advice based on the life you've led, the wisdom you've accumulated.
Mm,
What advice would you impart? And would that version of you listen?
probably not, because I think I got this advice from other people that were trusted, and I didn't listen. And the advice is just so basic and simple and so hard to take that I still have trouble taking it. And that is, be patient.
Yeah.
It's going to take longer than you think, and it's going to be better than you could imagine.
Wow. Well said. That is pure wisdom right there. Derek, this has been wonderful. If anyone wants to reach out and find out about your show, any of the myriad shows that you've have, anything in your world, where can they go?
Yeah. So I have a website. It's my name, DerekSelinger.com. You could also find me on all the socials. Instagram, I'm Derek_Selinger. And on YouTube, I have a small YouTube channel that's at Derek Selinger, where I share things that I've learned throughout my career.
That's wonderful. So Derek, real quick, Miles, come here. My son's out of school and he kind of saw that trick and kind of
Yeah.
freaked out and came up. And I said, well, hold on a second. Here, you want to say hi, Miles?
I do it.
Hey, Miles, good to see you, buddy. Did you enjoy that?
Dad.
So if you have a little, any kind of trick you could do, he would totally flip out.
Yeah, let's do it. You're going to lose my audio here for a second, but
You're fine.
You'll get visual.
Okay.
I'm going to rotate the camera here so I have a better angle.
What's your favorite NBA team?
Here we go.
Okay.
Can you see that? Not if you can see that. Yeah?
Yeah.
Ready? There, that's good.
That's wonderful. How was that, Miles? Oh, and one more question. He wants to know what your favorite NBA team is.
How was that, buddy? Was that good?
Oh my, yeah, he absolutely loved it. He wants to know what he's a big NBA fan. He wants to know what your favorite team is.
Oh, Raptors, Toronto Raptors.
Okay, see, there you go. He loves Kawhi Leonard, which he's with the Clippers now, but yeah.
Oh, I mean, talk about the shot. You know, that rattle in shot from the corner. Oh man, I know exactly where I was. I was throwing my wife folded all this laundry, and when he hit that shot, I picked it up. I'm throwing it around.
Yes.
I freaked out, man.
As you should.
That was epic.
That's wonderful.
Epic.
Man, it was so great to meet you. Thank you, sir, for your story. Miles is totally enamored. He wants to say bye.
Bye.
Bye, Miles. It's good to meet you, buddy.
Thank you again. I really appreciate it. Best of luck with everything.
My great pleasure. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.